In this video, I'm going to go over some of the things that may help you house train your dog or use the pet liners. So with that being said, with 20 years of dog experience with different types of little dogs, here are some tips that may help you fix some of your issues with your dog frequently going in the house. First thing you want to do is always make sure that at least the potty pad and the liner, the little housing case, is by the door at all times. The closer you have the door, and with your other method of frequent outside time, will give that dog a chance to eventually learn that to either ask you to go to the bathroom by going to the door, or by at least going by the door to while you're coaxing them to go outside. One thing I like to do is I make a little tree that helps them go onto the pad, so that's where they mark the spot. And every time that they go on there and you catch them going on there to go to the bathroom, you gotta make sure you praise them. You gotta constantly praise them each and every time they do it. One thing I don't find useful is yelling and screaming at the dog, especially whenever your dog emulates in things that you do, especially for bad habits. Whenever dogs may end up having a bad habit of always barking, especially for bad habits. Whenever dogs may end up having a bad habit of always barking at you or other people in the house, or even neighbors or whomever comes to the house. Don't really scream at your dog. Just in a calm manner explain to him that, that this is a no-no. One thing that I found helpful for getting the dogs to go outside is keep them on the scheduled times. Now, some people will prefer to have their animal into a crate during the day, which is perfectly fine as long as somebody's home within an amount of time to let that dog out. And you should always have a schedule from in the morning. When the first thing you get up, is the first thing you should do is always let your dog out to go to the bathroom. And then part of that scheduled routine is if you have them in a crate during the day, because usually if you train a dog from a puppy onward, they should adapt the better skills to learning to go during and outside for times of frequent, instead of just wandering around the yard and not doing their business, and then coming back into the house and going to the bathroom. One thing you could do, is at nighttime, whenever you're going to bed, make sure they're in a crate at night. Realistically, I think that's the only time you should really have an animal into a crate, is at nighttime, so to make sure they're not going out anywhere unless you get up to let them out otherwise. But during the day, they should be able to frequently wander around and socialize, because dogs can develop bad habits whenever they're bored and may frequently urinate out of spite of being bored from this boredom and just for something to do. So like in that video that I previously uploaded that was blurry, or this is a adaptation to that. Now this knowledge I'm giving you again is based on small dogs. I don't know anything about larger animals, and I've only had 20 years experience with smaller dogs. I don't know if the method with putting the pet liner by the door and with the method of adding a little tree stump for the boys to use it with. So for bigger dogs, generally are a lot more intelligent and usually pick up on the cues of what you want it to do, and the bladders are a lot bigger. But for a little smaller dog, you just can't have a frequent time period to really go out. It's just like yourself. You just can't force yourself to go to the bathroom, right? If your pet is frequently going around the house at night, then limit the water use. Put the water up, or even put the food up if they're going to the bathroom at night. Usually, some people like to schedule their feedings, and then of course others like to just put down enough for them for the day. But if you just limit them for that time that you're away, it would be a good idea to do so that way. If you're not home a lot of the time and you're long forgotten periods of time, then I would just limit for what you think they would eat for that point of that day. One method to try to get the dog to go onto the pad is to use a leash, and if you could notice your dog does this little squirm thing it does whenever you think it's going to go use the bathroom, put the dog on a leash and put it over on top of the pad. Just try to get the dog to try to use the pad that way, especially if they're not going outside whenever you do take them out anyway, and then when they come back in, they go onto the floor. So one thing you could do is, once you put them onto the pad with the leash, and when they finally go to do the business, we praise them, make sure you give them biscuits, And another thing I found helpful is to, every time they go outside, when they come back in, you give them a biscuit. So when they're outside, you ask them to do their pee-pees and poo-poos, and then if they do one of those, then you come back in, you praise them, and you give them a biscuit, and maybe make that a routine of a healthy biscuit while they're going outside every time, instead of just giving them a biscuit every item. And if you have any additional information you'd like to share, please do in the comments to help people out. I may have forgotten something in this video, so thanks.